Jerry Jones was at the Senior Bowl, and I thought this was interesting. He had this to say in regards to how the Dallas Cowboys intend to play in the upcoming season.
We need to take advantage of what we have in Dak. A part of that will be expanding the playbook. I think that's what this offseason's about. I think that's what the position coach changes are about, is to change it up. I think you're going to see a lot more variation in terms of schemes, in terms of techniques.
That's what Jerry Jones said. What Jerry Jones meant is, like, look, the idea of is it expanding the playbook if we have more designed runs for Dak Prescott, if we have Zeke Elliott healthy and not suspended for the entirety of the season. Right? You don't want to expand. You want to contract. Do they have issues with Dak fitting into the offense? I guess. But part of the problem is the personnel, right? Is a new scheme going to make Dez Bryant 5 years younger or Jason Witten 5 years younger? Like, Cole Beasley's got a rap album. You release a rap album. You kind of jump the shark as the underneath slot wide receiver. The personnel issues, which start with the quarterback, obviously he feels like can't be fixed or can't be changed or will not be changed. But until they do, what's the purpose of expanding? There are no magical plays. Well, what I want you to do is have some magical plays that make Dak Prescott a better quarterback. That's not going to happen. Not going to magically read defenses. You might throw it up to Dez a little bit more if you keep Dez. You get him to renegotiate his contract. I mean, until they tell Jason Witten, hey, dude, we got to go get another tight end to hide your lack of speed and elusiveness at this point in your career, until they're able to convince Dez Bryant to maybe be a number 2 wide receiver, operate some in the slot, try and be Anquan Bolden. More so even than Larry Fitzgerald, when Larry Fitzgerald decided to not simply be out wide and say, throw it up to me. And for Dak, and I think Jerry knows this, but you can't say it, right? Jerry knows, hey, we can't give him more options, less options. Hand the ball off, look for your primary, maybe look for Witten, tuck it and run it. Simplify. Don't make it more complex. And anybody you bring in, and look, this happens, especially this time of year. It happens in college campuses, occasionally happens on pro teams as well. Every defensive coordinator who has ever taken a job, in the initial press conferences, a meeting with the media, you know what they always say? They always say, we're going to be more aggressive. Now, at this point in time, in 2018, if every new defensive coordinator was more aggressive than the last defensive coordinator, then they'd all be blitzing 99% of the time or 100% of the time, right? If you progressively get more aggressive, then eventually you just got to blitz every down. It's an impossibility. The idea is anybody to get a job is like, we're going to be more aggressive. Sounds great, like, new sheriff in town, going to be more. Nobody says, like, hey, we're just going to sit back, play super passive, just let the other team make mistakes. Even though at times that's exactly what you do. You know? No offensive coordinator is going to come in and say, you know what we're going to do is we're going to dummy down this offense. We're going to simplify things. We're just going to hand the ball off 3 yards in a cloud of dust and occasionally on third down, run play action. Okay? Look, it worked for the Jaguars. Blake Bortles stinks. Dak Prescott's modestly better than Blake Bortles. Our overall personnel is better than the Jaguars. Our running back is better, more diverse. You know, our overall team, we think we can do more things. But that's a pretty good game plan. Simplify. Don't make it a more expansive playbook. But you can't say that to get the job, and you can't say that to convince Jerry Jones, and Jerry Jones can't say that, even though we all know it to be at least a good portion of the truth. It ain't that hard. Get the ball to Zeke. Look up. Somebody's open. Great. If not, run it because you're a really good athlete and you're a really good runner in college. And you're not great at going through progressions and being a super accurate throw guys open passer. It's not who you are. No one who's watched the Cowboys play said, you know what they need? They need a more expansive playbook for Dak Prescott. But that's exactly what Jerry Jones tried to convince us of, right? Well, now that's the personnel changes we're making. You can look for us to be a more dynamic offense and really try and, You know, it's like everybody wants, like, why can't we go get Sean McVay? Sean McVay, where he puts guys in different, you know what the difference is? First, they got better personnel. They were willing to part ways with their guys, make some trades, go get Sammy Watkins and Robert Woods and go change some of the things they had. But they also, Jared Goff's a different, more accurate thrower. He may not be the competitor leader that Dak is, but he's a lot more accurate a thrower. I told you I sat in this very seat this summer, and people thought I lost my mind. I was like, look, Dak's going to have regression. He was a fourth-round pick for a reason. And I think some of that doesn't mean that he'll always be a fourth-round pick, that he won't eventually elevate himself. But if you watched him this year, there's a lot of, that's why people weren't as high on him as they were on Goff. Water has found its level some, both in Los Angeles and in Dallas. And in Philadelphia, right? Like, that's why Carson Wentz went well ahead of him. Carson Wentz can run, is big, is strong, but all of those things that Dak does well, Carson Wentz does better. He just is better. That's why one would have been the MVP of the league had he not gotten hurt, and the other one had a little bit of a disappointing season and lost his running back, and his wide receivers aren't as good as they used to be, and his tight end's not as good as he used to be. That's what the Cowboys have to deal with. How do we, now that we have a full assessment, a complete rundown of just the pluses and minuses to how good Dak is, and Dak is going to be our quarterback, how do we put the best system around him in order to get the best out of him?
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.